Welcome to this, the first in a series of myth-busting videos. First things first, I'm not a lawyer. This does not constitute legal advice. Your mileage may vary, the battery is not included, and never read the yellow snow. Secondly, this is a deliberately short video, just discussing the basic facts. If you want more in-depth discussion on the subject, I'll put some links to longer videos in the description. I'm sure we've all seen tweets like this.
Yep, men shouldn't be in women's spaces. But misinformation from Stonewall has created the confusion, especially in retail. Hopefully more women are challenging males in women's spaces.
So where do trans people stand? Do we need a gender recognition certificate to use the appropriate loos? Well, trans people say we don't, and transphobes, like our friend here, say we do. Who's correct? What does the law say? The Equality Act of 2010 brought together a bunch of pre-existing laws. Right at the start of the Equality Act, a bunch of protected characteristics are defined. One of them is gender reassignment.
1. A person has the protected characteristic of gender reassignment if the person is proposing to undergo, is undergoing or has undergone a process, or part of a process, for the purpose of reassigning the person's sex by changing physiological or other attributes of sex. 2. A reference to a transsexual person is a reference to a person who has the protected characteristic of gender reassignment. 3. In relation to the protected characteristic of gender reassignment. A reference to a person who has a particular protected characteristic is a reference to a transsexual person. B. A reference to persons who share a protected characteristic is a reference to transsexual persons.
As the Equality and Human Rights Commission point out, that means that with some small exceptions, under UK law you must not treat trans women any differently to cis women, irrespective of if the person has a gender recognition certificate or not, or how far through the transition they are.
If a service provider provides single or separate sex services for women and men, or provides services differently to women and men, they should treat transsexual people according to the gender role in which they present. However, the Act does permit the service provider to provide a different service or exclude a person from the service who is proposing to undergo, is undergoing, or who has undergone gender reassignment. This will only be lawful where the exclusion is a proportionate means of achieving a legitimate. The intention is to ensure that the transsexual person is treated in a way that best meets their needs. Service providers need to be aware that transsexual people may need access to services relating to their birth sex which are otherwise provided only to people of that sex. For example, a transsexual man may need access to breast screening or gynecological services. In order to protect the privacy of all users, it is recommended that the service provider.
Maybe the UK government could clarify things. They're hardly the most trans-friendly government on the planet, but let's see what they have to say.
A trans person should be free to select the facilities appropriate to the gender in which they present. For example, when a trans person starts to live in their acquired gender role on a full-time basis, they should be afforded the right to use the facilities appropriate to the acquired gender role. Employers should avoid discriminating against anyone with the protected characteristic of a gender reassignment. Where employers already offer gender-neutral toilets and changing facilities, the risk of creating a barrier for transgender people is alleviated.
So we have the Equality and Human Rights Commission, the UK government, versus some random transphobe on Twitter. Who could be right? It's a complete mystery. Why conspiracy theorists outright lie is another video, but the fact is it's a myth that under UK law trans people need a gender recognition certificate to access single-sex spaces, and it's a myth that's been used to attract trans people and scare cis women. If you see this myth being circulated on Twitter, please feel free to reply to them with this video. If they're a hardened transphobe, it's unlikely they'll watch it, but maybe they will. If you're a gender critical person and you've made it this far, thank you. I'm under no illusions that you're suddenly going to change your mind on trans people, but hopefully I've helped you see that all you've been told may not be correct.